Thank you for joining this law seminar tonight. I am Tiffany. I'm the host of the night and I'm also the program director for Hong Kong U Space Law. Hong Kong U is the largest part-time law program. We have many different law programs, including different legal pathways to the UK, which is also our theme tonight. You might be wondering which program is for you. So tonight we have invited two of our program directors to give you more details about the law programs and particularly talk about the legal pathways to UK. So one of the guests, Mr. Danny Giddings, our head of law, will talk about the graduate diploma in Hong Kong in English and Hong Kong law (CPE) program. And Dr. Simon will talk about the University of London Bachelor of Laws preparation courses. These are the popular pathways to a successful legal career in the UK. So listen very carefully for the next hour. And we hope that over the course of the next hour, we will be able to give you all the information that you need about our law programs that you want to apply and answer the question you may have. So if you have any questions, just feel free to ask us or pop them into the chat box, the comment box if you are watching online. So, hello Danny.
Hey, good evening, Tiffany.
Hello, good evening. I know that you start your legal studies with graduate diploma in English and Hong Kong Law CPE program, and now you're the program director for this program and the head of law. So you're the most the suitable person, the best person to talk about this program. Can you tell us what are the advantages of studying this program?
That's right, Tiffany. I started as a student here. When I started studying at Hong Kong U Space, I knew no law at all. And I learned what law I know now primarily from studying on the graduate diploma in English and Hong Kong law. That was a long time ago. I won't say how long ago. I don't know. That's one thing I'm not answering questions on tonight. But the program's remained as, I mean, it was very popular when I did it. It's remained just as popular ever since, so long later, because actually really it's the name, isn't it? Graduate Diploma English and Hong Kong Law. There's no other course with that name, and that name really tells you everything, because the Hong Kong law talks about how you can qualify as a lawyer in Hong Kong, and of course we have so many students doing that each year on the PCLL. But the English law reminds you that it is an English law qualification awarded by Manchester Metropolitan University. And so if your pathway, and some of our students do choose that pathway, if your pathway is the UK, then you can also use the same course as a pathway to a legal career in the UK.
So the student of this program can actually practice both in the UK and Hong Kong, right?
Yeah, actually, well, we're really talking about UK tonight, but some other common law jurisdictions as well. I've got a couple of my former students from last year have just gone off to Australia, and they're still in the process of qualifying there, but they shouldn't be a problem. So UK and Hong Kong are the two main ones we talk about, and you see that in the title. But common law is practiced around the world, and it can open doors to qualifications in various jurisdictions.
Can I say that this CPE program actually gives more advantages to the student because especially in applying jobs, right? Job searching, because they actually possess the English and Hong Kong legal knowledge.
Well, you're thinking about jobs in the UK or jobs in Hong Kong?
Jobs in the UK.
Jobs in the UK. Well, Ben, my former student, he went off to the UK after he studied this course. He's now working for a top 50 law firm in Manchester. And he said, remember, it is a UK qualification, so you're in at least as good a position as anyone else who's studying a UK qualification. But he said he actually thought it made it easier for him to get jobs because it was a little bit distinctive, looking at a lot of job applicants, and you're the one with the graduate diploma in English and Hong Kong law. And so he said it helped him stand out from other job applicants. I'm not saying you study this course, you're going to get a job with a top 50 law firm. He did, and we're very proud of him. Others have as well. But certainly, in his experience, it really helped.
I see. So, because this program is provided by MFU, right? So, can the CPE student actually physically go to the UK and study with MFU?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. I mean, some of you here tonight, maybe you are thinking about going to study in the UK. And certainly, I mean, you can go straight and study in the UK, but if you're not sure you want to start in Hong Kong first, then you can start on one of our courses, and then you can move to the UK halfway through. We've had several students who started with me, started studying here. They did 1 year here, and then after 1 year they wanted to continue in the UK, so they transferred to Manchester. So it's more or less automatic as long as they passed their first year exams. It was no real problem at all. Coco, Candy, I think you've talked to some of them, haven't you, Tiffany? How are they doing over in Manchester?
Oh yes, I did. I talked to them like last week, and they said they're doing like quite good because there are a lot of activities that they are participating, like the pro bonos and networking events and law fairs and some kind of like law competition. A lot of activities going on in their lives.
It's a very different sort of studying experience in the UK. So, I mean, most of our students, they continue on the Hong Kong path, and if you're thinking about going to the PCLL in Hong Kong, obviously that's the best path, but they wanted to try a different studying experience, and so we helped them switch across, and sounds like they got a lot out of it.
Yeah, right. So can I haven't really studied in Manchester before. Can you tell us a little bit more about how's life in Manchester?
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing the graduate diploma in English and Hong Kong law with us, because it is an award from Manchester Law School, then that means that it's very easy to transfer to Manchester. And most of us these days have friends who move to Manchester. It's one of the most popular destinations for Hong Kong people these days, and got a very vibrant community indeed. I mean, honestly speaking, obviously I grew up in Britain. When I grew up, Manchester was a bit of a dump. But that was like 30 years or so ago, or 50 years or so ago. You go back now, and Manchester there's a lovely Chinatown. It's a very sort of thriving, prosperous city, and of course, much less expensive than living in southern England. So I think that's its popularity.
Oh, okay, all right. So what about Simon? What about your program? Is there any possibility for students to transfer to London to study with London U?
Well, yes, thank you, Tiffany, for your question. Well, if you are interested in the program, the London University Worldwide LLB program, there's actually a possibility for you. If you earn your credits, your modules here in Hong Kong, a possibility for you to transfer. If you apply separately to an internal colleges or law school. London University is the Federation of Colleges and Law Schools, and you have to apply separately for the program. Secondly, if you do really well in your first year or second year, level 4 or level 5, in level 5 subjects, you can actually ask for advanced standing entry into their year 2 or even year 3 programs. Now, I have personally got in touch with individual colleges, and they reply formally to us. Actually, there are separate, very specific policies regarding holders of the LLB or some modules. Okay, after completing some modules, they can apply to their programs. If you are interested and if you want to know more, we are always very happy to help you out in the process. Okay.
So what would be the requirement to transfer to London?
Yes. Now you have to do really well. Okay. Like for example, level 4. In level 4 standard entry route, Normally you do 4 subjects, okay? In those 4 subjects, you have to attain an equivalent of 2-1 honors, okay? Normally in the band of 60s, okay? Individual subject, no mark. So if you have that attainment, it's very likely that they will consider you favorably, okay? That is the point. So, and also the matching of your modules, okay? After completing your level 4 okay, for example, level 5, if you're asking for more advanced level of entry to the, say, year 3, you have to make sure that your completion of the modules in your previous 2 levels match with their program, you know. For example, 4 or 8 subjects, you know, they have to be matching. Otherwise, there would be some other requirements, so to say.
Yeah, maybe we should make clear, shouldn't we, Tiffany, that so that's transferring to London, and if you want to transfer to London, you've got to get pretty good grades. But transferring to Manchester is a bit different. Transferring to Manchester is more or less automatic. I mean, our students who transfer, they're good students who transfer to Manchester, but they weren't the top scoring students by at all on the course. So for Manchester transfer, your grades you actually basically you just have to pass. You don't need to get any particular grades.
I see. So the transfer for the 2 programs are quite different in terms of the standard, right?
Of course, the London U is
London
very
U is
high, very
very high.
prestigious, isn't it?
Yes.
Right,
So
yes.
I heard too, this London U program is
Yeah.
like has a long history and it's really
Yeah.
prestigious.
Well, the worldwide program actually has a history of over 130 years. Nelson Mandela was once an alumnus, and we have generations of alumni, very high achieving, including some very notable Nobel Prize laureates. And also internally, you know, within the University of London systems, there are different colleges. Some are world prestigious, like UCL, LSE, those are really, really high standing. Some are enjoying national reputation, but they are really, you know, very good at, you know, teaching, learning, experience, you know, giving students that sort of very, very good experience. So they have different strains, actually, yes.
Wow. So having know the prestigious and, you know, uncountable famous alumni of this program, well, actually can tell us a little bit more about this program.
Well, yes, the London program, the worldwide program, is actually an English program. You will study, you know, English law, of course, and so that is, of course, acceptable as a foundation or as a academic stage for your further progression into the legal practice in the UK, in England and Wales, to be precise. And it is also widely accepted in other common law jurisdictions, like in Hong Kong, for admission to the PCLL, and other jurisdictions. Like my students, previous students, generations, we are talking about students from 5 decades, more than 5 decades. We have a lot of students who succeeded in applying for admission, relying on the London qualification, admission to legal practice in Canada, in New York, as well as in Australia and California. So yeah, we have a very good track record. We have been providing testimony to them, to the qualifying authorities as well.
So what would be the entry requirement? Would that be really hard to?
Well, it's kind of like an, well, you have to, of course, you have to fulfill the general entry requirements of the university. There are actually 2 routes of entry. If you are looking for the standard entry route, you need to fulfill the, at least you have, if you're talking about the English system, 2 A levels plus 3 passes in 2 A levels plus 3 passes in GCSE. If you're talking about equivalent, you're holding a Hong Kong qualification, a secondary qualification, we're looking for 5 passes in your HKDSE, or equivalent if you're holding IB. You can go to the website. There's a very good search engine and calculator, if you like. You just look for, you know, key in your qualification you're holding, and they will give you a list whether this is acceptable. There is, of course, an English proficiency requirement as well. So, but they accept a wide range of qualifications for the purpose of admission. And well, there's also another route, graduate entry route. Graduate entry route just will take students who are holding a recognized university degree.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
and they study differently. In a way, for the graduate entry students, they take only 9 modules for the whole degree. For the standard entry routes, they take 12 subjects.
So how many years would that be?
The maximum period will be 6 years. This is according to the professional admission requirements in England and Wales, because you can't do I think the same as MMU qualification as well. You can't do a law degree for the purpose of admission more than 6 years. You have to complete a legal qualification within 6 years. Okay.
But that's the maximum. Right?
Maximum, yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
what would be the minimum?
Minimum for graduate entry route 2 years, but as a suicide route, I won't recommend anyone. Yeah, we did make one history. Years ago we had a girl pass in 2 years with like first class honors from Hong Kong Space. But normally students on that route would take 3 to 4 years. For standard entry route, 3 to 6 years.
How's the track record?
Yeah,
was our
impressive.
students
Yes, over the
doing?
5 decades or so, our students have done impressively in the examinations. Almost like setting the regional standard in terms of the examination. London examinations is a worldwide examination operation. It's simply by taking examinations. Okay, so instead of a combination of exam and paper, purely examinations.
I see. So have you heard? You said that we actually Hong Kong Youth Space set the regional record.
Yeah.
So why is Hong Kong Youth Space doing a much better job than the other providers of this program?
Well, I think first off, we have been here for a long time. Literally, it was the very first formal legal training in Hong Kong. Okay. The second is we rely on the visiting UK lecturers who have been experts, outstanding teachers in their own field. Some are actually authorities in particular fields. And our prep courses are designed in a way to enrich students' learning experience. We do not have just lectures, we have tutorials, we have exam analytics workshops. We also rely on our outstanding alumni. We got some outstanding alumni teaching on the course as well. They would share with you their hands-on experience in doing London examinations. We've got they will share not just their experience, but they will do analytics. They will share, work with you on the trends, on the development questions, more hands-on stuff. Okay, so I think that makes the whole experience quite enriching and effective.
I see. So then you just talk about the studying life in Manchester. So what about the life in London? Can you tell us a little bit more?
Well, the University of London does not have a home program here. It is a distance learning thing. Got separate different, independent internal colleges. They have their own full-time programs, etc. But for the London program, if you succeeded in, applying to, say, for example, Birkbeck or Royal Holloway, transfer the credits there and do their full-time program. I think the experience will be like Royal Holloway has a beautiful campus. Have you ever watched that famous movie, The Magic? Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Yes.
Harry Potter's
Yes.
set in the Royal
Yeah.
Holloway.
Right. One episode was actually shot in Royal Holloway. The other, apart from Oxford.
Yeah, never make your decisions based on Harry Potter, right?
Right. For Birkbeck is actually located in the center of London, Bloomsbury, just right next to the British Museum. Is a very convenient place, and University of London is actually located within the center of London. So I think the experience is very, very exciting. Yes.
Ah, okay. So that's kind of like really attractive
Yeah.
to study in the UK.
Yeah.
So Can I ask, like, the two programs, like graduate diploma in English Hong Kong Law CPE program and London ULLB program also allow students to qualify as a barrister and solicitor in the UK, right? So, Danny, I know that you qualified in UK bar after study with Hong Kong Space. Can you like talk about how to do it?
Yeah, that's the path I took. I studied here 2 years part-time. I spent 1 year in the UK, and then I was a barrister at the end of that. So it is pretty, the exact route has changed a little bit since my time, but it's still, this time period is the same. First thing you need to remember, if you're thinking about UK, is UK, or England and Wales, Scotland is different, but England and Wales, the legal profession, it's quite similar to Hong Kong. It's split between barristers and solicitors, the two halves. You go to Australia or Canada somewhere, it wouldn't be like that. So in that way, Hong Kong and England is the same. But in terms of what you need to study, it's very different. Because Hong Kong, I think we all know, right? Whether you want to be a barrister or solicitor in Hong Kong, it's basically the same path as the PCRL. And lots of our students, huge numbers of our students, go off and do that every year and qualify as barristers or solicitors in Hong Kong. But if you're thinking of England, the barrister and the solicitor paths are different. And you study one of our courses, graduate diploma English, Hong Kong law, or University of London LLB. Once you're finished, well, these are UK qualifications, so you're ready for UK barristers and solicitors paths, but you have to choose which one. And I chose barrister because, it's so straightforward. I went and spent 1 year in London doing a bar course, and after that, I'm a barrister. It only takes 1 year. I can't appear in, it doesn't give you the right to appear in a court. Okay, you want to appear in court, you have to do pupillage and so on, but after 1 year of studying in London, as long as you pass your exams and you eat the necessary dinners, you know, becoming a barrister in UK is not just about passing the exams. You have to eat formal dinners as well.
What?
If you don't eat the dinners, you fail. You can't be a barrister.
Really?
Yeah.
What sort of dinners?
They're very formal, big old hall. You have to wear a big gown. And I'm not joking. If you don't eat those dinners, you can't be a barrister. You don't pass the exams, you can't be a barrister. But you got to do both. But anyway.
What do they serve? I'm just wondering.
Expensive, not very good food.
Expensive, but not
It's like anything else, right? You have to do it, right? So they don't need to give you good food, right? Because you're not there for the food, you're there to be a barrister. The wine is pretty good. And the there's port's an English tradition to drink. The booze is not bad, but the food is really not up to much. But anyway, you're not there for the food, you're there to be a barrister. But it is pretty good. I mean, after literally just 1 year study, you then you put on your wig and your gown and you get called and you are a barrister. That doesn't mean, if you want to be a barrister who appears in court, you'd have to go off and do pupillage for another year. But if you just want to, like I do when I'm teaching law, call myself a barrister when I'm teaching law, or if you're going off to a non-legal job and you want to use that professional title barrister, then that 1 year is enough. You can't do that in Hong Kong because the Hong Kong system is different. You can't actually be called as a barrister until you've started doing pupillage. But for historical reasons in Britain, just like the dinners, that's historical reasons because they had those dinners hundreds of years ago and they've kept them up. For historical reasons in Britain, there's the shortcut where you just study for 1 year, and after 1 year, as long as you pass the exams and ate the dinners, you're a barrister like me.
Well, that sounds really attractive. Like completing the CPE for 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And then do 1 year bar course in the UK. And then you literally will have the professional title of a barrister in the UK.
Yeah, I know a lot of other people, even
not many people know that.
Hong Kong government officials and so on who were based in London and they discovered about this and they went off to do this because, again, Don't get me wrong, it doesn't give you the right to appear in court and to be a lawyer, calling yourself a barrister. You do this if you're going to be a law teacher or you're going to do another job, but many jobs where it'd be helpful to be able to call yourself a barrister, and under current British bar rules, that is possible after 1 year study in UK.
I see. So, but while the majority of the students usually will go for the choice of qualifying as a solicitor, right, in the UK. So, what would be the easiest way to do it?
The easiest way to qualify as a solicitor in Hong Kong?
Yeah.
Sorry, in the UK.
In the UK.
Yeah, but there's a reason I made that mistake when I said Hong Kong, because you're not going to believe me. The easiest way to qualify as a solicitor in the UK, or again England, Wales, is to qualify as a solicitor in Hong Kong. That's by far. Because if you qualify as a solicitor in England or Wales, you have to take, they've changed the system recently, you have to take this new exam called the Solicitor's Qualifying Exam. SQE, lots and lots of exams, really quite tough. If you take the PCLL in Hong Kong, you qualify as a solicitor in Hong Kong, and then you want to go to the UK, you're exempt from the second and most difficult part of the SQE. You don't have to do it. I think you save yourself 18 assessments. So, I mean, by all means, you might want to go to the UK immediately, and that's one option we can talk about. But another option, if you're looking slightly more in the long term, is follow the Hong Kong path first, because then, of course, you get to be qualified as solicitor in Hong Kong as well. And when you want to transfer to the UK, it's much easier, because you're exempt from these assessments that everyone in the UK has to do.
Well, that's really, really good, right? And it's really convenient. So students don't have to take extra exam, like SQE, they have exemption of SQE 2, right?
They have exemption from SQE 2, just need to do SQE 1.
The easy part.
Well,
SQE.
yeah, the less difficult part.
Less difficult part.
And SQE 1, that's the sort of law, well, Simon, you know it, it's the sort of law you learn anyway on our courses,
Right.
isn't it, mostly?
Yeah, exactly, Danny. SQE1, there are actually two stages, if you like, the Foundation Legal Knowledge 1 and 2, okay? Basically, our programs, no matter it is the MMU LLB or the London MMU CPE or the London LLB, cover, well, our curricula already cover most of the areas being examined, okay? That is one thing. And the other thing is, if you look a little bit forward, if you're talking about practicing as a solicitor, think about what a law firm would look for. They would rather look for people with good foundation, having undergone some sort of training, a formal legal qualification, okay, from a proper institution like MMU, like London, okay. You will be in a better position to compete with others, okay, in getting your training contract. So if you're seeing from that point, I think still doing a proper qualification is your best choice, because you are more likely to get a better position in the future. And you basically would have proper training in those examinable areas as required by the SQE1 examination.
So we sum it up. If you want to be a solicitor in the UK, you have to take two exams, actually it's 2 sets of exams, 2 big sets of exams. If you qualify, you go through Hong Kong Use Space, PCL in Hong Kong, you're exempt from the second set of exams. And for the first set of exams, SQE1, you've studied most of what you need for those exams.
Yeah, right.
I see. So, are the course going to be taught online or physical class?
For CPE, for Graduate Diploma in English and Hong Kong Law, well, at Hong Kong Use Space, we're not a profit-making institution. We're here to serve students, so we're all about trying to give as much choice to students as we can. And especially in these difficult times, we recognise it's important for students to have choice. So we're guaranteeing for this year, for students who start this year, we will offer them a choice between online and face-to-face. Face-to-face, of course, as long as COVID's not too serious. But we say every class will be, or every lecture, Hong Kong lecture, will be what we call dual mode. Okay, we'll be here in the classroom, a bit like tonight. Some of you are here in front of us. Others of you, you're watching on Facebook Live. We won't use Facebook Live for classes. So we have our own system. But it'll be the same thing. Tonight we asked you to register in advance, but if you're studying with us, we won't ask you to register in advance. You just decide, I want to come to the classroom today, or I want to follow online today. And that way we think we can give the students the maximum flexibility, especially in these uncertain times. Some students can come to the classroom, some students will find it more convenient to follow online. And of course, if you do miss a class, in most cases the recordings of the online lectures will be available, so you can always go back to, or even if some students, they watch the class, they didn't understand everything, they want to watch it a second time, well, the recording's there, you're welcome to go back over it again.
Yeah, I agree that because
you don't understand everything the first time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Tiffany is our former law student as well.
Yeah. When I was being a law student, I was always listening back to the recordings.
So a lot of former law students working at Hong Kong U Space now.
Yeah, true. So, what about London LLB?
Well, we, as I said, we rely heavily on the visiting lecturers from the UK, but we are always, we have been prepared for the lifting of the measures imposed on inbound international travellings. So we are ready to have all the in-person sessions resumed. But before that happens, as we did in the last 2 years or so, our lectures and all our sessions are delivered online live. Okay. Apart from that, we will still provide recordings for students afterwards. So we will still have the benefit of that. And we also have local support as well, like some outstanding alumni are teaching for us in supporting sections like the exam analytics workshops, etc. So they will be in person as far as possible. Of course, that will be subject to other, if there's a lockdown or whatever measure in force, we have to subject to that. Apart from that, we are ready for full in person, but before that happens, it's still online live.
I think the thing is we can pretty much guarantee your teaching won't be disrupted however serious the COVID wave.
Yes.
I mean, the fifth COVID wave, I remember the fifth COVID wave when it hit earlier this year, we saw it was coming and we just switched the classes online the next day, and the only difference was for students who were watching the classes online, there was no difference at all. The only difference was for those students who come into the classroom, we just said follow them online until the wave goes down, then we'll go back to the classroom. So you can be pretty confident that you're not going to have your course disrupted in that way.
Exactly. Yes.
I see. So now we know the study mode of the two programs are quite flexible. So what about the exam and assessment format of these two programs? Since many of our students are working they have daytime jobs, so would that be quite hard and demanding in terms of exam and assessment?
Well, for a start, of course, all the exams are in the evening and weekends. So, although you might want to take some leave when the exams get close. I mean, on the graduate diploma English and Hong Kong law, really just look at the pass rates. The pass rate's 80–90%. Tends to be a bit lower in year one. Year one, you're still talking about 80% plus, but by the time you get to year two, that's the end of the course. But then many students do an optional third year, an associated program. But by the time you get to year two, the pass rate's often above 90, even 95%. And it's not just that the pass rate is so high, but the number of students getting the higher grades, we call them distinctions, commendations, it is really high. I mean, you have to work. No law program is ever going to be easy, but we see year after year our students work and the overwhelming majority get good grades. variety of assessment formats. Most exams are closed book, but there are some open book exams. There's even one exam where they give you the questions in advance. That's more like a take-home exam. And some of the other exams, multiple choice exams, which are much easier to do. But really, I mean, the best thing is to ask our former students. I mean, you talk to our former students. That none of them will say. I don't think they'll say it was easy. But equally, they will say that mostly they will say it's manageable, and that certainly we have so many students going on to the PCLL each year, and PCLL, of course, the only way of qualifying as a lawyer by studying locally in Hong Kong, and Hong Kong U Space has far more students going to the PCLL than any other provider of English law courses, and I meet my students who've gone on to the PCLL. A lot, and they complain. They say, "Well, you didn't prepare us for how difficult the PCLL is. PCLL is so much more difficult than your courses." And so I think maybe we should make our courses a bit more tougher so we can prepare students for the next stage. So I think that's the best comparison, right? Although PCLL is much more, it seems to be very, but much more difficult than our courses. Doesn't mean our courses are easy, but they're manageable.
And our graduates from the CPE program is still doing great, right, in the PCLL?
Yes, I mean we had several who had award. And actually, what we're really proud of is we had several that got government-funded places on the PCLL. That's really a big deal, right? PCL, the course fees are 100 and
save a lot of money.
Yeah, 140,000, something like that. Yes, 140,000. But you only the top students get the government-funded places. And you save on the course fees, and it's a recognition of how good they are. We've had really quite a few getting government-funded places.
So what
Right.
would be the exam?
Yeah, for the London program, the examinations were used to be conducted by the Hong Kong Examination and Assessment Authority, but that was some 2 years ago. For the last 2 years, just because of the pandemic, the examinations were actually administered directly by the University of London. Goes online and on a separate kind of exam platform, very tightly controlled actually, but still, well, it's a little bit different in a way because the way you take the examinations is different from an in-person written thing. It may be good for some students who are more used to typing. But anyway, the London program is actually 100% exam based, so there is no need to submit any paper except if you're on the standard entry route. If you're doing the legal system and method course, you will have to submit a case note. Is required, but it won't be counted towards the ultimate mark, but it's required. Okay, that's the only exception. Well, it's quite. It's challenging. I mean, it is a worldwide public examination. Okay, and one thing is that if you do this program, you don't really you are not really bounded by geographic boundaries. Okay, you can actually your study won't be affected by your relocation. If you relocated to a certain to a different country or a different town or city, you may still still do the program, right?
That's right. You can do the exams at sort of like
Yes,
100 countries or something around the world, can't you?
Yeah, right. You've got over 100 examination centers around the world.
So the US and so on.
Yeah, right.
Pretty much
Australia,
pretty much anywhere in the world.
and UK, different places. But since now, I think it's more convenient now. You've got the online examinations, but it's still a challenging one because they will really check closely the quality of your answer and your plagiarism, etc. So you've got to take it really seriously. So well, that's the London examinations.
Is it open book or closed book examination? Can you search like Google search online?
No, they will lock you down. Your browser will be locked down. You have to do it in a particular environment. Okay, that's why that's the purpose of that examination platform. It will allow you more time, like 5 hours, for you to download the paper, do the examination, and upload it according to the rules. but your browser will be locked. Okay, you will have no access to other resources, and they will check really closely. There have been a lot of cases reported worldwide about plagiarism and collaboration.
Collaboration, how?
Yeah. Well, people can make use of other means of communication like WhatsApp. You got different machines. You just got a browser, your desktop, but you can have another thing. So there are lots of different means to get around, but London is really serious about that. And if there's any misconduct, they may report to the qualifying authority. Like, that will actually affect your future. So don't do that. It's serious anyway. I think on any programs we take seriously the academic conduct, but
well, it's a prestigious qualification, isn't
yes,
it? They want to
yes.
uphold the standard, don't they?
Exactly, yes.
So can the student actually take the books and notes inside the examination?
Yes, we used it to allow students to take the statute books, which actually is included in your learning materials, selected legislations, etc. But now it's more open in a way. They will let you to get access to your own notes, okay, or statute books. Apart from that, nothing you can do online. So don't try to push the boundary.
Well, be more diligent and copy the entire law book
Yeah.
to your own notes. That's what I would do to survive through a hard, prestigious examination, right?
Yeah.
So, what would be the application deadline for the two programs?
Yes, for CP, for Graduate Diploma in English and Hong Kong Law, if you're thinking of applying for that, well, you've still got a month and a bit, that is July the 4th. However, the deadline for applying without the application fee is only 1 week away. So, well, you can still apply after that. If you're successful, you have to pay the application fee. So, we've already had several hundred applications. The deadline for applying without paying the application fee is May the 30th. So that's in 1 week's time. After that, we'll still accept applications, but if your application is successful, you will need to pay the application fee, and then the deadline for the whole program will be July the 4th. It is worth mentioning. I mean, the Graduate Diploma English and Hong Kong Law. It's probably the most popular part-time. In fact, it is the most popular part-time law study program in Hong Kong. There are more applications for the Graduate Diploma English and Hong Kong Law than any other part-time program in Hong Kong. We get about 400 or 500 applications a year. So there's certainly no guarantee of getting a place. The better your grades, the more likely you are to be admitted. But also, because we're dealing with so many applications, I mentioned we've had a couple hundred already, because we're dealing with so many applications, we also tend to give priority to those who apply earlier. So I've already admitted some students this year with slightly lower grades than those who apply closer to the application deadline. When we've got this huge number of applications, then we wouldn't have the same flexibility then. So that's for the Graduate Diploma in English Hong Kong Law. For London U, there's a little bit more flexibility in terms of timing,
Right.
isn't there, Simon?
Yes, Danny. Now for the program, you have to think about the program deadline. There's something set by the London University that we cannot change. Normally it would be by the end of October every year for the autumn round, so to say. But they may extend a little bit, so it may be pushed back to maybe November or early November. But officially, the commencement of an academic year should be the 1st of November. Now that is for the program. You have to send in everything, get the offer by the University of London. But for the prep courses run by Hong Kong Space, we are more flexible. You enroll separately, independently on different modules. The modules you are going to choose, the prep courses you are going to choose, and we got different timetables for the modules. Okay, so you just check. All the courses would accept enrollments until after commencement of each of the course. And some students, if they are okay, they may come slightly late, even after the commencement of a particular course. But still okay, you can still benefit from what we promise to provide to the students. And under the lockdown, the pandemic, we still provide some sort of recording for students, so you can still catch up with those missed sections, that sort of thing. So check carefully. We've got a very detailed timetable included in the application materials.
Yeah, just remember to check carefully with the schedule.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a question, because many people think that studying law is ultimately to become a lawyer. But what other career options do they have actually besides lawyers?
That's good point, Tiffany. Yes, you can become a lawyer through these courses. Barrister, solicitor, Hong Kong, UK. Actually, we were talking about other countries around the world, but we have hundreds of students on these courses every year. They're not all going off to be lawyers. I mean, in fact, most of them in the end are not. I mean, most of them, I read on the graduate diploma in English and Hong Kong law. You have to apply. This year I have read every application. There's a section for personal statement. It's not compulsory, but it can help your application, so many fill it in. And I read many who they just say that whatever job they're doing, all kinds of jobs, engineering, a lot of civil servants in all kinds of different careers in the civil service applying. They just think that the legal knowledge will help them in their existing careers. So we spend a lot of time talking about becoming a lawyer, and that's one good reason to study law. We've got so many graduates who've gone on to successful careers as lawyers, even judges. But we've got thousands of others who've used the qualification for other careers, and in reality, law is useful to you pretty much in whatever job you do, right?
Exactly, Danny. For the speaking on the London experience, we've got many students actually working in other fields. For example, civil service used to send one or two students to us serving civil servants to Hong Kong University to study on the London program. For the last two cohorts, we've even got PhD holders, in political science or sociology, doing the London program. We've got people who do not have the aspiration to become a lawyer, but they find law as a liberal education, or as a kind of education that can enhance their professional practice in other fields, accountancy or business or whatever. They find it really helpful. So the way that having a legal knowledge, not just the legal knowledge, but also the way of thinking. I think that is something that you can't really find in other programs or in other disciplines.
I remember, Tiffany, when you're talking about legal work, it's not just about being a lawyer. It's not just about being a barrister or solicitor. Again, yes, many of our graduates go off and become barristers and solicitors, but there are many other law jobs, paralegals, legal executives, and so on. You spoke to my student Coco, right?
Yes,
She studied here and she moved to the UK, and she's gone off to do it. She's not actually a barrister or solicitor, but she's doing something related to law, isn't she? She got a job in the UK.
Yeah. It's really fascinating, because she hasn't even graduated yet, and then she already got a job offer. It's an intellectual property related job.
I think sort of paralegal type job.
Paralegal type of work. Yeah, that's like we can tell from that experience that like CPE is like a widely recognized program in the UK.
Another of my
it's really not it's not hard to search for jobs.
Yeah.
Really.
Another of my students who got in contact last week has just taken up a job with a taxation company in London, and said it was getting from the legal skills. Think about becoming a lawyer by all means. And many of our students do, but there's a wide variety of other careers out there.
Yeah, right. So, do you guys have any questions to ask us? Yeah, please.
Simon.
Good evening. Thanks for your seminar. First of all, I would like to know more about the program of University of London. Yeah. Is it likely that this program is suitable for young kids who newly completed secondary education and pursue their first degree? So they may choose this University of London, and then they will plan to fly to UK to earn a degree, right? As a mature student.
No, not really. Actually, I think 90% of our students are mature. Well, they have a job, they have a family.
They quit the job, and
most of our students actually are on the graduate route. We've got only a smaller group of students on the standard entry route. Okay, so most of our students are mature students, full-time employees, or they have other commitments. Some are even more already quite established in their own field. We've got quite a lot of students with that background.
Actually, I'm working in banking field.
Yeah, right.
In banking field.
Yeah.
I would like to have a chance to explore any opportunity for a second career in legal field.
Yeah.
Actually, I've been studying this program and in current year. Before 1 year, I do not know any. I do not have any law knowledge. But after a year, I feel that maybe I could pursue a legal career, or I'm interested into the legal program. So I wonder if I continue my study for CPE or the University of London. Okay, and yeah, I would like to know more about the CPE. The school fee for first year is 48,000 per year. Okay, how much school fee is the top degree?
The top up degree is the same. I mean, that's the fee per year.
Oh.
If you're doing the CPE, CPE is a 2-year part-time course. And then, of course, after 2 years, you have the CPE, the Graduate Diploma in English and Hong Kong Law. You've already got that. If you're thinking of going to the UK, that's enough. You don't need to do a top-up 3rd year. But mainly for students who want to go to the PCL in Hong Kong, we offer a top-up 3rd year. And the course fee will rise a little for inflation, but the course fee would be basically the same for that. I'm very glad you mentioned you studied the Certificate in Legal Studies. The Certificate in Legal Studies is that we haven't talked about it so much tonight because we've been talking about UK, but as you said, right, you learned your first law on it. It's a very popular introductory course. In fact, it's the most popular introductory course to studying law part-time in Hong Kong. And if your goal is not necessarily, or at least not immediately become a lawyer, or maybe become a lawyer in Hong Kong, that's a good path as well. I mean, many students take that path to becoming a lawyer. Many others use it for their general legal knowledge. So please, by all means, we're happy to answer questions about that as well. There is a path up that course. You can continue on to a Diploma in Legal Studies, Advanced Diploma in Legal Studies. It even has its own route to the PCLL now. So there's another option to consider.
Oh, good. Yeah, but I forgot one thing before 1 year, because the requirement for the advanced diploma for legal studies is that the student need to accumulate the legal related work experience. As I cannot get it because I'm working in banking field, I will not change my work to compliance or legal department in banking, and probably I will not change my job from banking to legal firms. So maybe this is the obstacle to pursue a legal career through this path. So I studied this the brochure of CPE. It seems that it does not require the student to accumulate the work-related experience in order to entry the PCLL, right?
You got it right, and I think maybe others who are here tonight and those of you watching online, I think it'd be very interested in the distinction between these 2 different pathways that Hong Kong Youth Space has to becoming a lawyer. And so really only Hong Kong Youth Space has these 2 different pathways. And you're on one pathway at the moment, the pathway that starts with the certificate in legal studies. And there is a special pathway up that pathway, which we can call almost a shortcut for people in legal work. You can do the earlier stages without being in legal work, but to go all the way up that pathway, because it's faster in the later stage, it only applies to people who are in law-related employment. You said you're in banking, and actually, a lot of people in banking, maybe they want to change careers, I don't know. I read the applications, I see so many people in finance, okay, applying for places on the CPE. I must have read 30, 40, 50, 60 applications from people in finance this year. So what you're thinking about is very common. And of course, if your job is not in law, well, you can still study the certificate in legal studies to get started as you have. It's a great idea because it gives you a good introduction to law. But if your job is not in law, you can't go up all the way on that path. Okay, that's a great path if your job is law related. And I strongly encourage anyone whose job is law related to think about it. But if you're in finance, your job is not actually law related, then one of the other paths, either the London LLB or the graduate diploma in English and Hong Kong law, that you're quite right, that is the path for you, because those paths don't require you to be in a law job. And the only other thing which I just mentioned, I say, well, if you choose, you're working in finance and you choose those paths, well, you're following many others who have done the same. And actually, I have many former students who were in finance and have switched and are now lawyers by following this pathway. So it's a well-recognised pathway from all kinds of jobs into becoming lawyers, but I think perhaps more applicants from finance than maybe almost any other profession. So many others have done what you're perhaps thinking of.
I'd like to clarify one more thing. Will I study this 1 year top degree in Hong Kong U local campus, or I need to fly to UK?
This is all Hong Kong.
All in
All Hong Kong. Hey, you want to fly to UK? We can arrange that. Manchester, right? We were talking about that, and Tiffany talked to the other way. A few of our students, they want to move to UK, and we can arrange that. But no, these courses are for students to study part-time in Hong Kong. You'll get your qualification. It's a UK qualification, but well recognised in Hong Kong. You'll get your qualification. You'll get your graduation ceremony. We had, between COVID waves, we had a graduation ceremony in December. Your graduation ceremony will be in Hong Kong. All part-time in Hong Kong.
Last question.
Sure.
You have an option to study in UK.
Yes, you're quite right, Tiffany. As I said, if you want to move to the UK,
Yeah.
we'll help arrange that. But for most students, I think that's what you're thinking of. You want to study in Hong Kong.
Because you're working right
Yes,
now.
and
so
that's
you can't really
that's the most common. That's the most common route.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had another question?
It is related to the job career. A little embarrassing, but upon the completion of this program and PCL, I will be early 40. It is realistic to pursue a legal career in Hong Kong.
Do you want to be a solicitor or barrister, or you consider both?
Difference.
I think it's fair to say that we certainly have people who have gone on to be solicitors in their 40s, but it's more common in that age bracket people go on to become barristers. And if you want to go on to become a barrister, let me tell you, you're still young. Really. I'm not kidding. We've had people in their 60s doing this course and going on to be barristers, and they're practicing in the bar now. In fact, it's quite common. People retire from their jobs. They retire from their jobs, they study this course, they qualify as barristers. So if you, solicitor side, maybe it's still possible, but maybe it's a little more difficult as you get older. But barrister side, really, I'm not exaggerating, you're still young.
Yeah, and age is never a problem. Just go for what you want to do.
Thank you.
A lot of very good questions.
Well, what about the others? Do you guys have any questions? Which program are you thinking right now? If you have questions, just feel free to ask us. Yeah. If not, then do you have any more to say about these two programs? Supplement?
Not really. I just say as I'm from Hong Kong U Space side, right? We know studying law is a big decision. Okay, we're much cheaper than a lot of other programs, but still, you're going to have to put your money into it. We're a lot less difficult than a lot of other programs, but still, you have to put your time into it. Okay, so that's why we try and have these kind of sessions to give you all the information. It's only fair before you make a decision, you have all the information, and it doesn't stop when we switch off the camera in a few moments. Okay, for those of you who came here, we're still here. We're very happy to talk to you individually. Just come up and see us. If you're watching online, you can continue to put questions in the chat box, or you can contact Hong Kong U Space Law Team at any time. Okay, we're there to help you. Remember, as I said before, Hong Kong U Space is a non-profit making organisation. We're not here to make money out of you. We're here to serve Hong Kong, provide education services. And so if you have any questions at any time, anything you're not sure about, just let us know. We'll do our best to answer your questions.
Yes, feel free to drop us any questions. We will answer that. So thank you so much, Dennis. Thank you so much, Simon, for tonight sharing the information with us. It's really nice talking to you both.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you. So that's the